And good day, everybody, and welcome to Improving Employee Performance webinar, sponsored by People First Companies. We've got a lot to cover, but first I'm going to do a little announcement here. I'll be sending out, or we will be sending out an email at the end of this. And one of the questions we're going to ask you is, how did you find us? So those choices are probably going to be either through LinkedIn, possibly email, social media, or other. If you would let me know via that email, I would appreciate it. It's helpful to us in continuing to sponsor these webinars. I'm Mike Bays. I'm the COO and co-founder of People First Companies with Stephen Angel. I've been a lifetime entrepreneur, and I've actually had 3 companies that I was a partner or owner of that revenues were in the multi-millions. One of which I had over 600 employees, and we were doing $80 million a year in revenue. And what you're going to hear about today is really the process that we discovered and used in building that company from 12 people to actually over 800 at the end. And this is one of the many training systems we used to get the best performance possible and to make our company a better place to work. Because when your employees perform better, they feel better. I should also mention this is sponsored by People First Companies. And as such, if you are a People First Company member, you don't necessarily need to take notes or write anything down, because everything, including a detailed training guide, is going to be in your documents, in your dashboard. So at the end of this, if you want to, you can go to your People First membership dashboard and you will see a training guide. If you are a member. If you are not a member, I would highly suggest that you become one. And if you choose not to, then you should probably take good notes on this, because I won't send notes or detailed training guide out, but you could see this webinar again on our YouTube channel, which you can find by just doing a Google search for YouTube People First Companies. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to go through this agenda, but this process, this system was developed in growing an $80 million company. So we're going to talk about understanding employee performance. And one thing I think it's important, at least for this webinar, to understand is that employee performance is never static. It's a wave. It goes up, it goes down, depending on the weather and many, many factors. So it's not static. If we look at employee performance and we decide, look, our average employee in this department is between 1 and 10, 1 being pathetic performance, they don't even show up, and 10 being incredible performance, you can't believe how much they get done. My average employee might be at a 5, 6 consistently. So probably somewhere between a 4.5 and a 6.5, somewhere, maybe a 7 on their performance scale of how much they're getting done and how productive they are. And so what is it that we can do as leaders? What type of energy can we use to turn that up a little bit? If we can move our employees from a 4.5 or a 6, in that area, to a 6 to 8 or a 6.5 to 8.5 or 9 occasionally, imagine the difference in your business and to the employee. Employees work better when they feel like they're performing better. And I should also mention to you that a lot of folks think that performance is being motivated, that a company can motivate somebody to better performance. Very short term and really not true. Motivation simply means they're trying. That's all motivation is. If they're showing up to work and trying to do their job, they're already motivated. The question is, what can we do to improve their performance while they're there? So here's what I'd like you to do in your imagination. What you see here is a balloon, helium balloon. It's floating. So I want you to view your employees as a balloon with no airflow at all. It won't move a bit. But I want you to see performance factors as currents of air, airflow, which push it one way or the other. You can see on this slide that if the employee gets good factors on the left, pushing it to the right, they're being pushed into the good performance area. But if they have bad factors affecting their performance, that balloon's going to get pushed over to the poor performance area on the left. So what we need to do is take a look at what those are. And there can be so many. I'm not going to go through everything, but I do want to talk about some. Basically, the things that can push your employee actually either way are things, and this is what we hear about consistently in our state interview programs or in the research. In the recent ADP survey of 22,000 employees, these things came up. But training is quite often a either good performance factor or poor, from onboarding to ongoing. Feeling important and part of the team can be a very important good performance factor. People who feel like they're part of the decision-making process and have a say in how the company's run in their department perform better. If they feel like they're just told what to do and have no input, they're going to perform at a lower level. Communication between their boss and themselves, communication between senior management and themselves, communication interdepartment. How is that communication? Are they in the loop on what's happening with their company, their department, the future, and the current, and the goals? That's part of feeling important and of value. You need to look at yourself and think, how do we do communicating to our employees? Coworkers in the ADP research actually came up quite high. Coworkers have a profound factor on poor or good performance. And of course, that makes sense. If you're sitting in an office surrounded by people who hate what they do and hate the company, there's no way you're going to perform at your best. So by identifying issues with employees and working on them, you can correct that or change it. Benefits. Clearly, if it's a great benefits package, if you're able to offer good benefits to the best of your ability, that can definitely affect it, because if they don't feel good about their compensation and benefits, they're not going to perform at the highest level consistently, or at a high level consistently, which includes a health plan. Also, commutes. A lot of employers don't understand how a commute can affect performance. I mean, it's logical. I once had a office in Manhattan, and my branch manager for that office of 24 people or so lived on Long Island. Her commute was 90 minutes both ways. So she literally had to leave her house at 6 o'clock in the morning, and she wouldn't get home until about 7:30 or 8. You just can't perform at a high level. And sales reps, same thing. Anybody else, you can't perform at your highest level when you're working those type of hours. So we adjusted that schedule. We brought her in later, and we had certain days she needed to be in early, and she left early. And we had certain days she had to be in late for training, but she got there later. So you can affect those things. Schedule. Many of you don't believe that a 4-day schedule is possible to your company. And it may not be. It's probably the biggest pushback I get when I'm consulting or talking to companies about compensation packages and how to treat employees, is changing schedules, where in fact it's one of the highest factors in employees' performance and what they call happiness at ADP is satisfaction. Again, a happy, satisfied employee performs better. And there are documented cases and research done that a 4-day schedule or a reduced schedule, you can get better productivity from your employees. It's worth considering. Workload is significant. I'm going to talk about stay interviews in a little bit, but having done lots of stay interviews with lots of employees, those are employees interviews with current employees about how they feel about the company. Workload comes up a lot in two ways. One, they're way overworked or they don't get enough. They're underutilized. So workload can be very definitely a performance factor. Career path, a lot of people don't think about this, but after a year or two or three, an employee needs someplace to go. Very few people start in a job code, so to speak, and stay in it for the rest of their lives, can be satisfied or perform at a relatively high level all the time. So what's the career path? Has that been mapped out for them? These are the things that you need to be speaking about and talking about and understanding. On the other side, you'll see on the right side under good performance, these are actually factors pushing that balloon, that employee, towards poor performance. And they can be any of these, obviously, but a hectic schedule, a spouse or family issues, poorly defined career path, all those things can push them the other way. We want as much pushing to the good performance. That's what we can do. That's our job. This is just a visual to kind of give you a better idea. So the things that can push it to poor performance or an employee is what we talked about. Great training, feeling important, all those factors push it to good performance. We want to move that from a 4.5 or a 5 to 7 average performance to a 6.5 to 8 average performance. Again, imagine what happens to your company when you do that. So here I just have basically everything we just talked about, except company spirit is on that left-hand column. These are the things the company has influence over. Company spirit, do you do company days? Do you have monthly events? Do you recognize your employees? Is there good company spirit? That's a performance factor. And there are some things that are outside the company control, obviously. Senior management needs to be aware of this as well as managers, but an employee's health, if they're having health issues, clearly that's not something you directly affect. Spouse or family issues, spouses, if they're fighting, etc., that can be a problem. And addiction, clearly I've had, numerous employees over 30 years who had addiction problems, may have been alcohol or other things. But I can tell you, and you know this too, if you've been in business long, that'll take you out of the game pretty quick. And unfortunately, a lot of companies' solution to that is not recognize the addiction and just fire the employee versus dealing with the addiction, which, is a much better way to do it. Transportation issues, depending on, the job code and where they are. But if their car is broken down, they have to take it. That's an issue. You can affect that, of course. You can help financial issues if they have to take a second job to work. These are things that are kind of outside your control, but if you are aware of, you can make better and you can help that employee. And that's going to help the company. Remember, what makes the employee more productive helps the company. Here's one that is missed so often. Do you have a job description? One of the major reasons for an employee not to perform well is they don't know where they should be performing. And this is really important for the boss and the employee and the senior management to all be on the same page. And if you're not sure what that job description should say, the best exercise to figure that out is you want to imagine your company without that job in it, without that position. Whatever you call it, product manager, whatever that position is. If that position doesn't exist, what is it that does not happen? Or what is it that doesn't happen as well as it needs to? And whatever those things are is the job description. It is your job to make sure this happens. It is your job to make sure this, documented process in a project, communication, those sort of things. But you need to write a job description. It's amazing how often an employee may feel like they're meeting their job expectations and the manager doesn't, yet there's no written job description. And when you ask them, What is your job description? You get different stories. Start right there. Start with making sure every job that counts, and they all do, has a job description, and that your manager and employee understand it and that they review it. This in itself could bring up that 4.5 to 6 type of performance a point or two. Because when people know what's expected, they're far more likely to make it happen. So there's really 4 steps that managers and leaders should take and make sure happen. They need to identify the current obstacles that their employees have, and that's going to be different per position. You need to then verify what you think those issues are via one-on-one discussions, or what we call stay interviews. So you actually talk to your employees to verify your conclusions, or you have a third party do it, or HR, it doesn't matter. It does matter, but as long as it's done well. Once you identify and verify that the factors that you think are affecting your employees are in fact correct, then you obviously need to design the action steps, timelines, and an implementation plan with your managers. Who's going to do what? Let's say it's training. Training's pretty straightforward. So, and training's often an issue. One, employees have a tendency to push back on training. My solution to that as a manager years ago was all of my training, except for the initial training, was voluntary. So you didn't have to come to my training. If you weren't performing well, I'd highly suggest it, or if you wanted to perform better, but nobody had to come. That way I knew the people in the room or the people on the computer were there because they wanted to be and because it was valuable. So you need to take training steps and go, okay, what can we do better? And remember, employees push back on training. They don't want to because the vast majority, or the majority of training out there, is pretty bad and they consider it a waste. So take that into consideration, but put together a really good training plan. Maybe it's individual instead of group. Who's responsible for that plan? When will it be implemented? So when you look at the previous performance factors and you evaluate all of them, you can just put a question in front of it. Is training happening? Are job descriptions in place? Are career paths clearly communicated and documented? What formal and informal communication is happening? Now, I will tell you, a stay interview is a formal and informal type of communication, which by itself, just that one thing could probably bring your performance up from that 4 or 5 to a 6, 7, or 8. How's the company spirit? So you need to analyze this, and that's how you come up with what you think you need to start implementing. But there's a step here that's really important, and it's obvious that you've got to talk to your employees. At People First Companies, we highly recommend, and there's training in your dashboard under documents on how to conduct stay interviews. Stay interviews are basically where you sit down with your employees and you have an honest, frank, and sometimes, hopefully, confidential discussion about what's working in the company and what's not. A good question to always ask is, what's the most frustrating thing about your job? And if you do it to a group of 8 or 10 or 20 and you start seeing patterns, you are right on track to get things fixed and move along. I recently did stay interviews, just as an example, with a company that they were not aware, or they weren't taking it very seriously, but a certain level of employee was getting just bombarded by calls from recruiters. Well, it's pretty hard to, keep your performance up when recruiters are calling you every 2 weeks saying you could make more money, you could have better hours, you could have better benefits, you could have a better lifestyle. If that's constantly happening and people are constantly offering you a job, your performance is going to suffer, and it did. They were getting killed by recruiters. So we fixed that. They fixed it through new compensation programs, through better communication. But stay interviews are really important. That's how you verify what's happening. And I really suggest stay interviews happen on a monthly basis, just casually, formally formal at first, then casually make sure they happen. And we have ways to do that. We can consult with you, or it's in the training guide in your dashboard if you are a member. If you're not a member, it's $49 a month right now, and you really should be. Here's what we kind of discussed. Every company has its own form of management, so I'll leave that up to you, but just make sure it's documented. People are responsible for it. And there's a timeline. Remember, the goal here is to take your average employee performance, which is whatever it is. It's 5 to 7, say it's in there. And you want to push that to a 6.5 to an 8. And again, think about what happens if your sales group production goes up 20, 25%, or 30. Or if your product management group's production goes up, or your service groups goes up. If you're 30% more productive, you're making more money and you have happier employees. People First Companies is not against making money. We are pro-capitalism. We love making money. We just want to make sure the employees are treated well in that process. So here's how you become a People First member. And again, here's why. This will take just a second. Basically, you'll have a logo. You can see on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You get your own logo, which shows you are a People First company, which you can then use on your website, your social media, your recruiting. And they click on that. It goes to our People First company website, and they see that you are a company concerned about their employees, concerned about a great working environment, who wants great productive employees and are willing to work with them on that. It's really simple. You get this logo on the bronze level. It's $49 a month or $497 annually. You get the logo to display wherever you want. Our silver members are $99 a month. They get the logo and they get the documents and the training in their documents file. So you have access to all our training. You'll also be listed in our local and national member directory for consumers to look for. And also, by the way, People First Company members commit to looking to that directory first when they buy goods or services. Gold level is everything: logo, training, membership. Also, you'll get a spotlight video done right now by Stephen Angel or myself, an interview with you, which you can use on your website. We will put on our YouTube channel and on our website. You also enjoy, as a gold member, up to 50% off any of our services. And the two services we talk about, it's not really something we build the company on, but we do stay interviews because they're so important. Those stay interviews start at $3,500 for a company. But if you're a gold member, you get a $1,000 discount off of that. The price is just a little above that, so it's almost free. So if you're thinking of using us for consulting or stay interviews, the gold membership makes sense. Plus you get a spotlight video. You'd be crazy not to do at least the silver. It's very easy to get started with it, especially since we're discounting these significantly. And I'll send this to you in an email. But our silver membership right now has a discount to $49 a month, which is 50% off using the promo code CharterSilverM. If you want to pay annually, it's only $399. And that's Charter Silver Y for a year. $99 a month now, $49 a month, Charter Silver M. You might want to write those down, and I can send them to you. Gold memberships, normally $11.97. Right now, they're $4.99 for the entire year. It includes a $1,000 discount and on the qualified stay interview programs and 50% discounts on consulting. That promo code is Charter Gold Y. I'm going to give you a second to write these down. All right, appreciate that. Really, you kind of be an idiot not to sign up on the silver level at least. You get all this training. The stay interview training is already in there. The employee performance is going to be in there today or tomorrow. So you already have that. We're going to be doing an onboarding training, how to onboard employees remotely by Rebecca Newman, one of our very talented business development managers. We're going to be how to sell in a tougher economy. because a lot of us, we're hearing from our members and around the state of Colorado anyway, that things are slowing down. So we're going to tell you what's working. So we have lots and lots. We should have a how to run a internet ads program focused on the Google AdWords program, training over the next 60 days. So it's all coming up. All you need to do is go to our website and hit the join us and, fill out the normal stuff. And they will send you an email with a code for your logo to put anywhere you like, as well access to your dashboard. And you'll be able to fill out your membership directory information, which is included in the silver and gold. The bronze is just the logo. The silver and gold both include membership directories. So there's our website, peoplefirstcompanies.net, like bringinginfish.com, peoplefirstcompanies.net. Go right there and you can join us. You can call us at that number. It's also on the website. And you can reach us at info@peoplecomefirst.com. So it's not spelled out. The email is peoplecome with the number 1st.com. You can actually reach me as well with that email at Mike Bayes, Bayes, at peoplecomefirst.com. And again, that's the number 1st. But it's all on the website. I wish you would go there. I'll send you an email with those promo codes. Any questions, call me. It was a pleasure being here today. And hopefully we'll see you at the next one, which is probably 2 weeks from today, on employee boarding or sales. And this one will repeat next Tuesday as well.